All right, welcome back to the Mindful Mama Talks podcast. My name is Chels, and I'm a holistic health, mindset, and motherhood coach. And I specifically work with moms and help them kind of find this fun, peace, calm, and all the things within their life and help them find their purpose.
And I am Rebecca. I am a horticultural therapy practitioner. I am a mom of 3, and I help people find the calm in their lives, and I empower them to find their own peace, to slow down and love the life that they live. And today, Chels, we have a special guest. I'm so excited. This is my friend Elayna. Elayna and I have been friends for 16 years. 16 years now? Yeah, we met in high school, I think. And so we have been doing life together for a really, really long time. But we've been doing life together in a different way. And this is one of the ways that technology is just so wonderful, because Elayna is a military mom. And how many times have you moved since you became a mom?
Actually only the once.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
but you're gearing up for another move.
Yeah, we're moving in about a month. We're currently in New Brunswick, and we are actually moving to Saskatchewan.
Love it.
Big move.
Yes. It's a bit of a move. Now, Chels, why I wanted to talk to Elayna today was, Elayna and I, like I said, we've been doing life together. We became, I had 2 kids. No, I had all 3 of my kids when Elayna became a mom, and we both have struggled with depression in different parts of our life. And so Elayna is like one of my life hack friends. So when we find something that works for us, we're texting each other or we're FaceTiming to give each other another tool to help each other thrive. And so I'm so excited. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
So what would you say the biggest challenge of being a military mom is?
Oof. Constantly worrying about, is my child thriving? So a lot of times when you live in one spot, you kind of figure out what works for your kid, what works for you. You guys kind of find your niche, like who plays best with who and what times and that kind of stuff. And kind of just uprooting their life and reestablishing. You don't want to push them per se, but you also still want them to get back into their routines and like find those friends. So I guess it's just, but yeah, biggest struggle would be, to really make sure that my child is comfortable and confident in their structure, I guess. Yeah.
So you're creating that structure at home so that when your life is disrupted, you still have home base.
Yes.
Yeah. Love that. Chels, did you have any questions? I mean, I have a bajillion, but this is a 2-person, well, today 3-person podcast, so I don't want to jeopardize it the whole time. But do you have any questions specifically about being a military mom?
I would love to know like the rundown of, because you're kind of single parenting for time. Am I right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So in the last 2 years, my husband has been gone 6 or 7 months. So it's a challenge. I am very big on finding your village. I like Rebecca was saying, we're constantly messaging each other, checking up on each other. I do that with a lot of people. I know when my husband was gone, he was gone September to December of last year for a course. And one of the other moms down the street, her husband was gone and she got 2 littles. And so we got together every week on Wednesdays and we did dinner. And it always looked different, whether it was at her house or my house. Sometimes it was takeout. Sometimes it was home cooked meal, but it was always at least an hour together of being and helping and that kind of stuff. So yeah, when you're single parenting for a time, there's always an adjustment period because you're in your routine when your spouse is here and then your spouse is away. So you have to find your new regular routine and then they come back again and you're kind of like, oh, yeah, I missed you and I love you. But now you're screwing up the system that we have going. So it's a lot of flexibility and grace and adjustment. But it's definitely a different lifestyle. one that I never really thought I'd have growing up, but one I'm okay with.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's crazy.
No,
Yeah,
I
I
love that you emphasize the piece about like finding your community and like scheduling this time with other moms if they're in the same boat as you, or they just don't have a partner and they kind of are in that same transition of that life that you're in for that time that your husband is gone. Yeah, no, I like that.
Yeah, I have our street, so I'm in the military housing, and our street specifically has a lot of kids around the same age. And so all of our parents, like all of the parents there are very, hey, all your kids are in my yard. Okay, great. Like as long we really are co-parenting really when our spouses are gone, especially. I'm not super close with some of them, but like I know them enough to trust them with my kid. And so sometimes I'll get a message be like, hey, the kids are now at my place, or hey, the kids are now at my place, or I had to go pick up a friend's daughter from daycare just because she couldn't and her spouse was gone. And yeah, it's just a different way of thinking, right? Because if you always have your spouse to rely on, like if they're at work or whatever, oh, I can't pick up my kid, you got to go do it. A lot of daycares these days, you have to have specified people to come pick up. And so one thing I've noticed is like our list of who can pick up is not just mom and dad. It's mom and dad and, oh, this other military spouse, or oh, this other auntie, because you have to make your own village. You can't thrive or function if you don't. So yeah.
And I think Chels and I have talked a little bit about how your family isn't always your village, right? Especially for you.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily living close to your family all the time. And so I think it takes a real openness to whatever is going to come your way to thrive as a military mom.
Yeah.
And so what does a day look like for you? At one point, you were running a daycare in your home so you could be home with your child. One of the things I love, Chels, about Elayna is how much we push each other to be outside. Like we'll just send a text of it's a picture of our feet and the grass and our kids playing. Because that's been a big part of you being well when your spouse is gone or when you've got challenges, right? Yeah. Getting your kids outside and then being outside. But what does a day look like for you?
So right now I work part-time at a youth bookstore, actually in the town I live in, Oromocto it's called. But a typical day is, I get up, we have breakfast. My husband actually gets up with my son when he's home. And they do breakfast together usually. So I can sleep for an extra 20 minutes, half an hour until he goes to work. But yeah, most days, weather permitting, we're outside. Honestly, we eat. And I'm like, okay, what can we do outside today? We're fortunate we do have a fenced in backyard. We're not on a super busy road, so it's okay to be outside and just kind of let him free roam. I try and do some like activities, like learning activities and stuff, but a lot of times it's just, if you could be outside and play, great. And if not, inside, I found cutting down on the TV time for my son was huge. Like if he has too much TV time, he goes insane.
Yep.
Yeah, and me too. Like I do better when I don't have much TV time. But he does go to daycare part time. So on daycare days, he's usually at daycare about 9, and then comes home about 4:30 when my husband gets off work. He goes to pick him up. Then we do dinner, and yeah, usually after dinner we try and get outside, especially in the summer with longer days. It's get outside. We are in New Brunswick, which is actually, apparently I found out a couple weeks ago, a classified rainforest. So it rains a lot. There will be some weeks where it's like 2 or 3 week periods where we have maybe 1 day of sunshine. But I've also learned that it's okay to play in the rain. And like, because growing up, it was always, well, you can't go outside, you're going to get sick. Oh, but I'm like, no, stick you. We bought a Muddy Buddy. So it's like one of those full bodysuit rain suits. And so stick you in that and go outside, and like some days you can't go outside at all.
Yeah. And
then it's a little chaotic, but yeah, it's not super different for most people. I think a lot of people have an idea of military's spouses or military life as being vastly, vastly different. It's different, but it's not at the end of the day.
Yeah. So we've talked about like backyard design and creating a backyard that you enjoy being in, you enjoy being with your kids enjoy being in. What are the things that you have in your backyard that you love?
Water tables and a hose.
Yes.
My son is obsessed with water right now. He's 3. I have so I have psoriasis, so I can't be in the sun all the time. Like, being in the sun is great for you, but I also have to monitor how much I'm in the sun when I'm on certain medications. I bought a little sports tent. So like when you go to sporting events, you get like that 2 foot by 6 foot little throw up tent.
Yeah.
I have one of those in my backyard. And so on the really hot summer days when my son is outside, I will like follow the shade because we have no shade in our backyard. But yeah, we used to have a swing set, which was phenomenal too. But we got rid of that because our new place doesn't have a backyard really.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, just I'm not right now. Because with military housing, you have to get permission to do a lot of different things. It's not where I want it to be, and it won't be for a while, but that's okay. We utilize parks more often than our backyard. Yeah, to be honest. But yeah, my favorite thing in my backyard is my house.
Love it. It's so simple, right? Chelsea and I have talked about how it doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be this massive project. It can be something so simple. So I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, here's another life hack you and I were just talking about. And Chelsea, you and I have talked about the overwhelm, right? All the things that we feel like we have to do. Elayna got rid of regular plates and uses paper plates right now. And I love that. They're biodegradable. You're fine. They don't have the plastic film, but that was such a barrier for you. You wanted to make healthy meals for your family. You wanted to eat well, but the dishes just seemed to be such a barrier for you. So you just nixed them.
Yep. So it actually started back in September. I had some stuff going on in my life. It was really rough. My husband had just left for 3 months for this course. And I had a lady from my church come over and she was saying, like, what can I help with? Because she's one of those moms, like with you, we just come over and we'll just start cleaning each other's house. No judgment. It's just, I see something needs to get done. Let's do it. And so she was doing my dishes. And so with what's the hardest thing right now? I said dishes. I struggle so hard with my depression with doing dishes. And she's like, okay, get paper plates. And I was like, but that's so bad for the environment. And she said, actually, it's not. So her friend is a family of 5, and they actually broke it down to the environmental impact, the cost, all of that kind of stuff for doing dishes in the dishwasher versus doing paper plates. And they found that actually paper plates have a very slight less impact because the chemicals in your soap, the amount of water that you're using for the clean water and all of that kind of stuff amounted to, price-wise, it's cheaper to do the paper plates, but also environmental impact, it was pretty much on par. And so when she told me that, I was like, oh, well then why wouldn't I change? And so she actually that Sunday, so it was a couple days later, came with a Costco size thing of paper plates for us. And I started using those while my husband was away. And it worked so well for me and for my son because he can't break my plates. When my husband came home, I said, I love you, babe, but one major change that I am not going back from is paper plates. And it's now June. It's June. And we still use those plates because it works for him too because he hates doing dishes. And it's such a small thing, but it's had such a big impact on our day-to-day life that I'm like, I'm never going back. Just the middle-sized plates are just sitting in my cupboard. I'm probably gonna get rid of them. Just because it's a life hack that works for my family. But yeah.
I love that.
I love that.
Oh,
sorry, Chelsea.
Sorry. When you like make something in a pot, do you still use a dishwasher, or you've gotten meals kind of easier now that you don't use as many dishes altogether?
No, we still use our dishwasher like every other day. But it's easier to keep my kitchen clean. And for whatever reason, just because I find plates take up a lot of room in the dishwasher. So it's not for me, it's not about cutting out all dishes. It's just about being smart about what dishes I use. So like when I cook, I love one pot meals. So a lot of times instead of having 2 or 3 dishes, like 2 or 3 pots to clean, I have one pot to clean. And for a while I was actually doing plastic forks and knives because I could just chuck those too. But now we're back to using the regular stuff. But yeah, it's just a different way. I'm not trying to eliminate using the dishwasher, right? I'm just grabbing the best of both worlds.
Yeah, finding that mind block, right?
Yeah.
What is it that's stopping me? I had that this week where I could not get my counter clean. Like I would do the dishes and I would put things away, and then I would come back later. I'm like, I didn't wipe the counter down, and it was like 3 or 4 days. And I'm like, why is my counter not clean? And then I realized kids had moved my spray bottle, and I always use a spray bottle to spray down my counters and then wipe them because it soaks things, and then it's not hard to wipe it down. So the kids had moved my spray bottle from the kitchen to the hallway cupboard, and so in my mind it was just a brain block, and I couldn't wipe the counter because I didn't have the spray bottle. And once I realized that was the thing that I was hitting up against, I went and found the spray bottle.
And sometimes it's something so simple and you're like, oh, that's stupid. Like it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Like using, like, because we have 3 size plates. You have the dessert plates, the middle size, and then the large dinner plates. And like I never use the large dinner plates. Even at dinner time, I always use the middle ones. And like in all reality, washing a plate is not that hard. But it's one of those stupid little blocks in my brain that not having to wash a plate makes doing dishes easier.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so stupid. But it's those little hacks and those little brain blocks, if you can find ways around them, makes a huge difference, especially when you're parenting. Like
and solo parenting.
And solo parenting. Yeah. I'm of the opinion, if you can find a way to make your life easier, especially when you're solo parenting, just do it. Like just figure out what works for you and go for it.
Do away with the shame. We're all about doing away with the shame here on the Mindful Mama Talks podcast and figuring out what works for you and what helps you to be the best parent you can be. So I have one more question, but Chels, did you have any other questions you wanted to ask Elayna?
Not a question, but I think just emphasizing again, like the How to Keep House While Drowning book by Casey Davis is like a game changer, especially when there is so much going on that like the mental load feels so heavy, and then you have to do the parent side of it outside, and then don't have your spouse in that moment to rely on. Like it just changes everything. And so by you releasing that, like I only have to wash a pot, I don't have to wash like all the plates and all the like that just in itself, and take it on for like a season, right? Like this is only a season of life. It's not going to be the rest of my life. So parts of me would be like, oh my God, but the environment and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, no, just let that go. Like just let that piece go, because I'm getting sanity in that moment and my dishes are becoming clean.
And in the grand
or like not to wash them.
In the grand scheme of things, using paper plates for say 2 years for one family is not going to make a big difference, right? In the grand scheme of things, for the environment, it's one little thing and a little change. But yeah.
So my final question would be, I'm going to ask you to speak into the life of a mama who's really, really struggling right now. And what is the one thing you want to say to the mom that is just like, I don't know how to keep going? What is the one thing or a few things that you would say to her?
Biggest thing is find even just one person that you can be raw with. So like you and me.
Yeah.
We text each other and we ask each other, like, you text a person like, hey, how's it going? And that person's like, oh, I'm fine.
Not me.
Well, we had to get there.
Yes.
Right? You and I have always been real with each other, but especially like when you had, who did you have? You were in Dresden.
Alexa?
Was it Alexa?
I had Xavier and Alexa in Dresden.
So it was Alexa. You had just had Alexa. You had another C-section. And I was like, how are you doing? You're like, not good. It was just one of those days you had zero filter. And I was like, okay, what do you need? You're like, come here. Just help me pack. Help me do this. I can't lift my child. Like, I was like, great. I grabbed my mom. I was living in, I think, Brantford at the time. So I was a good 2-3 hours away, but my mom was on the drive getting here.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, nope, we're coming for the day. My mom will watch the baby. I will help you. And then that was kind of like, I think, the turning point for you and me of like, we are always honest. So if we're having a shit day, we'll text each other like, hey, I'm having a hard time. Just listen.
Yeah.
Finding that 1 or 2 people where you can just be like, it's hard and it sucks, but I need you to support me however you can. That's probably the biggest piece. And it's hard to do that.
Yeah.
And it sucks, and it's taken us 16 years to get to this point. But like, I'm visiting Ontario to my in-laws because I'm out in New Brunswick, and I'm like, hey, what day works for you? Pick one day, and I kind of child free because I just want to just be with you. Because we don't have to be, but we see each other once every couple of years.
Yeah.
But having that one person who, no matter where you are in life, you could be like, I need help, or hey, I managed to clean my counters today.
Oh yeah.
Yay! Right? Like, celebrate the wins, support in the hard times. That's find that one person. You don't need a whole village. You just need one, and then from there it can grow.
Yeah. And I think the thing with Elayna and I is that we show up for each other.
Yeah.
So thankfully, for the most part, like, we haven't been in the throes of depression at the same time. And so I've been able to show up for her. One time when your husband was on leave and you were living in Burlington, I think.
Right.
I just popped in for a visit, you know? So we really have been able, we're both giving, right? And I think that can be hard too, because you're like, I feel like I'm drowning. How can I make this relationship go both ways? Yeah. But it's that text, it's that call, it's that sending them a takeout order, you know, and building those relationships. And I think when you're in your early 20s, you feel like you need to be friends with everybody. And the older you get, the more you realize, I just need like 3 solid people, right? And so I love that. I get chills.
It's also remembering when you are drowning and you feel like you're only taking from that friend. It's remembering that friendship is a give and take. So like, when I'm drowning, I need you more, and you can show up for me. But also, there may come a time, or there will come a time when you're drowning and you need me a bit more. So it's being humble and realizing I need you a bit, and that's okay. Yeah. And I might need you a little bit more now, but later I can give it back. Yeah. When I can hear it.
Yeah. Once I've got my head above water.
Yeah. So.
All right. Final notes.
I just want to touch.
Sorry, Chels. We're really bad at this today.
I know. I think it's our connection. Anyways, I want to touch on because my brain just goes back to like the mindset piece of that. Because me in the fix of postpartum depression would have been like, I don't want to inconvenience anyone, like all of that. So like my piece around that, if that's what you're feeling, whoever is listening to this is like, yeah, but I don't want to inconvenience that friend. Know that, again, it's that give and take. Like they just said, you're going to give more and you're going to take more at different points of your life, and just release the beliefs around inconveniencing her, because she wouldn't offer or wouldn't say, how can I help you, if she didn't actually want to help you.
And I think there's been once or twice where we have told each other, like, I don't want to be a burden, or I don't want to inconvenience. And my response is always, inconvenience me, burden me. That's what friends are. That's what your village is. I wouldn't be here asking what support you need if I didn't actually want to give it and I didn't actually care. Right? It's like having that person to be like, no, burden me, please.
Yeah.
I want your burdens.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's huge. But you have to learn to get there as well.
Yeah. And that takes, I mean, we've been friends for over a decade, right? And so you may not have people in your life like that right now, but it's finding those people you can be absolutely authentic with and slowly building that. Chels, I had kind of, I was thinking of wrapping this up a little bit differently, if that's okay. I have a bit of a visualization, if that's all right. So, the last time Elayna and I saw each other, I still had someone in diapers. I had a son that had just been diagnosed on the spectrum. I had a daughter who's going to change the world. And I was absolutely drowning. And I was drowning when I had C-sections and babies, and I had 2 kids in diapers. And if you're there, know that I feel for you. But then we had this day where I said, okay, kids, get in the car. And every single child put their shoes on and buckled themselves. And then a year later, the kids were like, hey, Mom, can we go to the park? And all 3 of them walked themselves to the park. And so this stage that you're in, if you're in a hard stage, it's going to pass. Your kids, this is not forever, right? The 3 months when your hubby was gone seemed like it was going to be forever.
Yeah.
Right. And so please, please, please do not get stuck in that spiral of this feels like it's going to last forever, because it's not. It's not. I dropped off one child at school today. The other one was able to stay at home alone, even though they were sick. I did not have to find extra childcare. We were able to figure it out. And so, Mama, if you feel like you're drowning, you're not. Just keep your head above water. Keep pedaling. It's going to get easier. I promise you.
Yep. I love it. And ask for help.
Yes.
Yes. That's big.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. Oh, this has been such a good conversation. Thank you guys for joining us. And I can't wait for this to be our first guest podcast.
Well, I'm the first guest. You are.
Thanks for having me.
All right, this has been the Mindful Mama Talks podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have a story to share or a mama you know is inspiring, please reach out. We would love to continue to share stories to help inspire moms wherever they are at.